Hola, bienvenidos a este Chalk and Talk, or el Chalk and Talk de esta semana. This week we are dealing with a request from a lady called Celia. Hola Celia, gracias por la sugerencia. The suggestion that Celia has put forward is for us to cover words like muy and mucho and bastante and poco, un poco, lots of different things. All words of measurement. Now, I don't know what the official grammatical name is for words of measurement, but I don't care. They're words that you measure by, yeah? Okay, a lot, tons, millions. All right, these are all the sort of words that we use to kind of give an idea of scale or size. All right, so let's deal with muy and mucho for a start. All right, I don't know if you've seen on the actual page that we posted this Chalk and Talk that it says keep calm and mucho caliente, right? And that tickled me because I've heard that so many times, mucho caliente, right? And why? It's not correct. Obviously, it's muy caliente, all right, or mucho calor, but it isn't mucho caliente. But this is an error that lots and lots of people make. Lots of people get mixed up between mucho and muy. So let's just put that one to bed, right? Why do we mix up mucho, which is a lot, right? Same as in English, and muy, which is very. They're very, very different words. Why do we mix them up? We only mix them up because of the difference between the way we say things in English and the way we say things in Spanish. Okay. You see, one of the issues that we've got is that in Spanish, we don't say it's very hot. We don't say that. We say it's making a lot of heat, right? When we say hace mucho calor. Yeah. Now, we would never say hace muy calor because it's making very heat. In English, it doesn't make sense. These two words make absolute sense, by the way. They do make sense in English as well, as long as you know what you're saying. All right. So all of the words when we use with tener, all of the expressions we use with tener. For example, tengo frío, tengo calor, tengo hambre, tengo sed. All of those tengo are I have heat, I have cold, I have thirst, I have hunger. So if you want to augment them, if you want to say a lot, you've got to say, I have a lot of heat. Not I have very heat. So you would never say, tengo muy calor. No, tengo mucho calor. Tengo mucha hambre. And we're going to come to changing mucho and mucha. Yeah. Tengo mucha sed. Yeah. Tengo mucho frío. Yeah, so we're using a lot because we're saying I have a lot. Yeah, that's the only reason why we don't use very. In English, we say I am hot, I am thirsty, I am cold. So we use I am, and if we want to intensify that, maybe they're called intensifiers, those words. We say very, I'm very hot, I'm very cold, I'm very hungry, I'm very thirsty. But no, in Spanish, I have a lot of heat, I have a lot of cold. All right, so that's why people mix up muy and mucho. Yeah, so muy caliente, mucho calor. So what's that about? Well, calor is heat. So if you say mucho calor, you're saying a lot of heat. A lot of heat. That's why we use it with weather. Hace mucho calor. It's making a lot of heat. Something that's muy caliente is that, yeah. So, el té está muy caliente, right? The tea is very hot because caliente is hot. Calor is heat, yeah. So that's why when you drink, oh, está muy caliente, yeah. So you can use muy there because that's the same as English, but with heat you can't. You've got to use mucho, all right? So that's the muy mucho dilemma. Just make sure you know what you're saying in Spanish. If you know what you're saying, you won't get it wrong. Yeah. This is when you see hace mucho calor, and in English, it's very hot. That's what confuses us. Therefore, most people who haven't studied Spanish assume that mucho must be very, because it's very hot, hace mucho calor. Yeah, that's the link they make, but that's not the case. All right. All right. So that's the muy mucho issue. So now let's have a look at the difference between mucho, poco, and mucho, mucha, muchos, muchas, poco, poca, pocos, pocas. All right. Why is it that sometimes we just say mucho, and why do we sometimes say muchos or muchas? All right. The official version is this, and then I'll explain how that works. What's happening is that sometimes mucho is working as an adverb, right? And sometimes mucho and poco and all of those are working as an adjective, right? So let me explain the difference. I'll give you an adverb use. As far as I'm saying adverb, I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's an adverb, yeah. All right, it doesn't matter, but I want you to see it's linked to a verb. So let me show you. Me gusta mucho el fútbol. Me gusta mucho el fútbol. That is an adverb. Why? Because what you're saying is this. Football pleases me greatly. That's what you're saying. Yeah, it is an adverb. So, football pleases me greatly, a lotly, muchly, yeah? So watch what that much is doing. That mucho is linked to the verb. Football, it's not linked to football. You're talking about football. Pleases me muchly, okay? A lotly. I like that one. Pleases me a lotly, greatly. So that never changes. That will always be mucho. Even if you say, for example, las galletas me gustan mucho, right? Biscuits are pleasing to me greatly. So even though you're saying las galletas, you will never say muchas. And some people do. Some people think, oh, I've just said las galletas, so I'll have to say muchas. No. Why? Because you are describing the verb, not the noun. Does that make sense? You're describing pleasing. You're not describing the biscuits, right? And do you know why you'll choose mucho? Do you know why it's mucho? You're describing the verb, aren't you? All verbs are singular and masculine. Yeah, it's always el gustar. All right? If you want to know, kind of like a way of remembering, with a verb, it's always going to be masculine, singular. It's always going to be mucho. And equally with poco, las galletas me gustan poco. Yeah, I hardly like. Yeah. Biscuits are pleasing to me barely, or barely pleasing to me. All of these li adverbs, yeah? All right, but on the other side, I can say, yo como muchas galletas. Now muchas is describing biscuits, yeah? And biscuits are feminine, plural, and so your mucho becomes muchas. Yeah, why? Because you're describing the noun. Yeah? Or bebo mucha agua. I drink a lot of water. Yeah? You could say bebo mucha agua fría. Everything's agreeing with water because water is your subject. Yeah? And mucha is referring to water. Right? Now that one isn't as difficult, I suppose, as the word demasiado. Although now that you understand what you're doing, it doesn't matter. Demasiado works exactly the same way. Yeah? I could say to you, como demasiado. Como demasiado. And I'll never change demasiado. Why? Because it's linked to the verb. It's an adverb. Yeah? So you're really saying, I eat too muchly, okay? A lotly, too much a lotly, okay? I eat too much, linked to the eat, yeah? But I could also say, yo como demasiadas galletas. So what have I had to do? Now I'm referring to the biscuits. I eat too many biscuits, too many biscuits. So it becomes demasiadas galletas and not demasiado galletas. You could say, como demasiado las galletas. Does that make sense? Como demasiado las galletas. I eat biscuits too much, but you're referring to I'm eating too much. The biscuits, that's what you're saying. But if you want to say I'm eating too many biscuits, yo como demasiadas galletas. Yeah? Yo bebo demasiada agua. All right, so when you're referring to the demasiado, mucho, poco is actually linked to the noun, then it's going to agree. When it's linked to the verb, it's going to just be singular and masculine. Now that sometimes can be confusing with that sentence. If we look at those sentences, yo como demasiado las galletas. Right, now that is linked to the verb. I eat too much. I eat too much biscuits. Yeah. All right. Now in English that sounds bizarre, but we would say I eat biscuits too much. Yeah. So can you hear it's too much when you say demasiado? But yo como demasiadas galletas. I eat too many biscuits. So now we've changed. Yeah. And it's become too many. Yeah. So rather than I eat biscuits too much, it's I eat too many biscuits. Too many biscuits, that's your adjective. I eat biscuits too much, that's your adverb. All right? So just when you're using the word demasiado or mucho or poco, then just be careful with that, okay? You're always trying to think, am I modifying, that's what they say, am I modifying the verb or am I modifying the noun? Basically, am I describing or augmenting or diminishing the verb, or is it the noun, right? So if it's the noun, it agrees. If it's a verb, masculine singular, right? Okay. So I hope that helps you. If what I've said isn't quite clicking, just start making some sentences yourself where you're using, for example, demasiado. Demasiado is a good one because of all of the ones that all of these words, that's the one that caused me problems until I understood what it was. I was saying, why sometimes do we say demasiadas or demasiados, and why do I say demasiados sometimes? And I'm still talking about plural things, and it's all because I didn't understand what that word was referring to. Was it a verb or was it a noun? Okay. Now, I'd like to hear in your comments if that makes sense. Please, in the discuss, let me know if it makes sense the way I've described it. If it doesn't, I can describe it again. All right, and I'll see if I can think of a different way of helping you to understand. All right. So, okay, so let's have a look at these words: algo and nada. Okay, algo and nada, something and nothing. It's something and nothing.